Hello. Welcome to my behind-the-scenes documentary of my attempt at recreating Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner using stop-motion animation. I hope you enjoy it. So let's start by looking at the four principal characters in the poem. They are the young mariner, Death, his partner Life and Death, and the ancient mariner himself. Let's begin with the young mariner. Well, here he is, in completed form. First observations, I'd say I think he looks quite good. I'm happy with how he turned out. We tailor-made all the clothes out of the shirt's made of linen, the trousers of felt, and the sort of jacket over the top is made out of sort of nylon-y material, which I found somewhere in my house. All the mannequins, I should have started by saying, all the mannequins are actually made of, you know, those wooden artist mannequins, which people use for scale and that sort of thing. They're all those, basically, with plasticine and tailor-made clothes over the top. So, yeah, this is how he started out. Looks a bit like a Ken doll. And as you'll notice here, his head is very, very flat, and there's no sort of shape to it. It's just, you know, there's no definition to put the hair over or anything like that. So the hair was made out of sausages of plasticine. Sort of, I rolled it up and put it over the top. So by building up the head around the mannequin, I was able to give him that effect of having thick, full hair, which is what most young men have. And I think he looks a lot better. You know, I mean, when you look at him when he started out, he didn't look very promising. But I think he's turned out well. And you'll notice, actually, when you see the picture of the Ancient Mariner, how he's turned out, that I didn't bother to thicken out his head or anything like that, because he doesn't need it, because he's an older man, so obviously his hair's thinning. So, yeah, by thickening out his head, that was really to give the contrast between the elderly man and the younger man. So, yeah, I'm pleased with how he turned out. And next we've got Death. So here he is in all his glory. Now, Death is very, very hard to create, because skulls, I don't know if anyone here has ever tried making one, but they're very, very difficult to make, you know, get in proportion. Because when you actually look at them, they're very odd shapes, they're funny shapes. It's strange to think that we all have something shaped like that under our skin. But hours of watching Tim Burton's Corpse Bride, you know, all the dancing skeletons, was able to give me the right effect. And my Death, he's not accurate, but I think he's a pretty decent representation. You know what he's meant to be. Now, his clothing was made out of my mum's coat, basically. My mum had an old coat or jacket, like an evening jacket, which had some leftover fabric. So what we did was we cut that up and made sort of a robe, as you can see, with the hood. I mean, the hood took a while to create. I'll admit, my mum made the hood. And yeah, what I did was I cut sort of a hole in the front of his robe so that you can see his ribs showing through, because I think that looks quite impressive. It makes him look more scary, if you like. And I'm debating whether or not to give him a scythe, really, to complete the look. I think he looks good, but I don't know, would the scythe be too much? I'm debating whether or not to do that. But yeah, he's my favourite out of all of the mannequins, if I'm honest. Oh, look at this. You'll see that here. This is how he started. This is how I started making him. And it looks quite funny, really. It doesn't really look like it's going to be a skull, but it's just a layer of black around the mannequin's head. And what I did was I built up the skull around it, and I did that so that I could get the effect of sort of black, empty eye sockets. Because if you actually see the mannequins in the flesh, or in the plasticine, if you like, you'll notice that the eye sockets are very, very deep, and the sort of black space, the black emptiness behind the eye sockets is very far back. So the skull took a lot of building up. And yeah, I think he's worked out well. And he's not perfect, but like I said, he's my favourite. So, yes, this is the prima donna of the piece, Life in Death, who is Death's partner in love and crime. And I'll start by saying she was the most difficult to create. I think she looks good now. I think she looks imposing. I think she looks spooky, which is what I wanted. But I desperately wanted her to be very, very beautiful. And I was going for a sort of Corpse Bride meets Helena Bonham Carter look. You know, beautiful but otherworldly. And if you look at Gustave Doré's rather stunning illustrations of the poem, you'll notice that Life and Death is almost skeletal. You know, she's very beautiful and very captivating, but she does look like she's not from this world, you know, which is very effective. And sort of that crossed with Helena Bonham Carter's look in Sweeney Todd, where I don't know if you know, she plays Mrs. Lovett, and she's absolutely amazing. And she has a very gothic look, which inspired me, sort of the black lace dress, the hollow cheekbones, the wide eyes, that sort of thing. And that was the look I was going for Life and Death. But this is the first draft, or the mock-up if you like, of how Life and Death turned out. I'll give you a moment to take that in. She's very, very disturbing and very grotesque and almost nightmarish. To be honest, she's more like Pete Burns than Helena Bonham Carter. But yeah, I was very disappointed with her, to be honest. And if you look at her from the front, I mean, she even looks as though she's got a pixie crop, which is completely inaccurate for that time scale. So what I did was I just completely took the face off. I took everything off, the face, the hair, everything, and completely remade her. And she'll always fall below my expectations, because I did have such high hopes for her. You know, so she'll always let me down in a way, I suppose. But I've done my best, and I think she looks a lot better than she started out. And, you know, at least she isn't hideously ugly anymore. So finally, let's look at the Ancient Mariner. He looks great, let's be honest. He's very imposing, which is great. You know, he looks good on camera. And that's how I imagined him. I imagined him as being imposing. Not scary, but sort of a presence, you know? And yeah, this picture shows him getting some facial hair. And you'll notice that he started off with very short hair and very short beard, sort of jaw length, which is fine, it looks okay. But I always intended for his hair to be very long. Partly because of Doré's illustrations, but partly because, you know, he's ancient, he's a mariner, and let's face it, he has a curse on him. So he won't have very much free time to go and spend a lot of money at the barber's, being nicely trimmed and groomed and everything. So yeah, the hair went in last, his long hair went in last, as you can see, because his hair, as you'll notice, rests over his costume because it's so long. So what I had to do is I had to do the costume first, and then put the hair over the top, which I think works well. He's got a sort of Santa Clausy look about him. But now, his clothing, or his costume, you'll notice he's wearing what looks like a fishing net or something like that, which, you know, connotes the mariner seafaring theme, which is good. However, you'll have heard the expression, no doubt, oh, he's so great, he looks great in a flour sack. Now, he's literally wearing a flour sack, which was sort of cut into pieces and sort of wound round him to look sort of like a shroud in a way. And his staff is a twig, which I found in the garden, which had to be stapled to his hand, ironically enough. However, he is my Ancient Mariner, and I personally like him very much. I think he looks great. And I hope you can see the resemblance between him as a handsome young sailor and him as a withered old man. I think the similarity adds to the tragedy of the poem. On a more serious note, I honestly believe that, because, you know, it's sad to see how he started and how he turned out. However, they are my four principal characters, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about them, hearing a bit of background information on them, and I hope you enjoyed seeing them, seeing how they were made, and I also hope you're as excited as I am to see the final piece. So, goodbye for now, and next time I talk to you, my piece will have been created. Bye!